Hi, I'm Joshua Schubart, and you're listening to Awakened Nation with Brad Zollis.
A huge shift is taking place on planet Earth. People seem to be waking up. Tired of the way things used to be, they are creating something brand new and changing the world we live in. My name is Brad Zollis, and I get to sit down with the next generation of idea makers, the disruptors, and the game changers. Everyday people, just like you and me, from all over, who are doing amazing things. Welcome to Awakened Nation.
Josh, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Thanks for having me on your show.
I've been dying to get you on, actually. Because you and I have known each other for a long time.
We have since 2011, I think. That's when we met.
I think it was Starbucks. Yeah, did we meet at Starbucks?
Yeah, it was in the Barnes and Noble Starbucks where I was a barista at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me open up your bio. There we are. I had to restart my computer. Yeah, Josh, this is the best part about this show. I know a lot of famous people, and some people will actually ask me, how do you get famous people on your show? It's like, well, I knew them before they were famous, or I helped write their act. You know, they now have HBO specials. And I just call up and I go, hey, you want to be on the show? 30 seconds. And they say yes. It's literally like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're excited today because I am not only a friend of this guy, but I'm a big fan, especially since I've seen him on The Tick. He played Frank on The Tick. Welcome to the show, Mr. Joshua Schubart.
Oh, hello. Yes, I did play Frank on The Tick. I loved that show. It was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I'm going to read your bio in a second, but I wanted to dive into that right away simply because you were also a fan of The Tick as a kid, I heard.
I was, yeah.
You want to tell this story?
Yeah, sure. So, when I was a kid, I felt like weird and out of place, largely because of my life. I was homeless. I grew up and I was in foster care, and I always felt weird and out of place. And I found The Tick in this time in my life where I needed something like positive and weird. And I watched the cartoon show first, and it was all these weirdos doing weird crap all the time, but it was hilariously funny. And everyone loved each other. Even the bad guys loved each other. So it was an interesting thing to see, like this weird group of people that came from a place of love in a time that I really needed it. It really connected with me hard. And then I went out and I read all the comic books, and then I ended up on the show, and I got to work with the creator of The Tick, Ben Edlund. He's an amazing man.
Wow.
We're still friends now. And it was an incredible experience where I got to work on a piece of IP that I loved so much. And yeah.
Isn't it crazy how life works out that way? It's really
crazy, yeah.
Because, I think of some of the people I've had on the show, and at a distance, I was a fan, and I thought to myself, I could never get that person. But here it is, here it happens. But I want to talk about this, and this is, I'm a huge science fiction fan. So sure. Comedy doesn't always work in certain genres. But when it's done right, it just sings, and the hardest part, I think, for writing comedy is both science fiction and superhero genre. And The Tick did it right. I mean, you look at Galaxy Quest or the Orville or The Tick, they nailed it. Did you notice that right away? Yeah. I mean, I love The Tick. I started watching it as a cartoon a little bit, but when the movie came, or the TV series came on, I was like, I got to watch this.
Well, it's really easy to satirize, right? So if it's done comedically as a satire, then it just sings, man. Like it's funny and it's extremely topical, and it just works.
Yeah. I learned a long time ago as a marketing guy, if I want to stay in touch with the next trend or the next big pulse, I look at two things. I watch cartoons that the kids are watching.
Oh, sure.
I would sit down with my nephew and I was like, what's popular now? And then the second thing I look at is, what are the kids today doing on college campuses?
What are the kids today?
Yeah, I know. I just hit 60. You're gonna look. What? Thanks. Yeah. I made it, baby.
You made it.
Yeah. And so I've always been a fan of, to stay on the pulse of what everybody's watching and doing today. And I turned my girlfriend on to the Tick probably about 6-7 months ago. I go, come on, you got to sit down and watch this. My friend Josh is on the show, and she's like, oh my God, this is hilarious.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And what I really loved about your performance as Frank is you were so matter of fact, like, yeah, I'm a criminal, and I'm listening to the whatever henchman or henchwoman you're working with. You're just like, hey, we could make this better. It was like they chose you in the HR department to be the representative for the union. And I saw that was really you in that performance. Let's talk about that.
It was really cool because my character was originally supposed to be a 2-episode arc henchman that then got blown up. And then the creators, so like Ben, and then the producers and 2 of the writers really loved me as a person, and they loved my work, and they just kept writing me in episode after episode, and that was for season 1. So I was only supposed to be in 2, and then I ended up in 6, and then they brought me back for season 2, and I knew how many episodes that I was going to be in then. So it was a really cool transformation to watch this guy, and it was funny because I got yelled at every single day on my first day because I was bringing because I had watched the cartoon and the first live action, and I've read all the books. I knew kind of like Van Edlin's world really well in my head, so I was bringing this character in that the director didn't understand why I was playing a henchman this way. Because normally henchmen they're just like, I'm gonna shoot you in the face, and I'm like blah blah blah. But I think that's what really got them to latch on to me was they're like, oh, this guy gets the world, so we want to keep him here.
I think it's more than getting that world. I think it was playing against type.
Yeah,
that always wins the day. And you did, if you know nothing about the Tick, that's kind of what you did.
It is. Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of who I am as a person too. Like, I'm a larger guy. I work out and I have muscles and stuff, but I'm really just a big sweetheart. And whenever I can let that shine through, I do. I love to show larger dudes for what we actually are, because most of us are they're just like me. We're just happy to be here. We want to hug and we don't want to fight you. Like it's just the way it is.
You're what I call a gentle giant.
I'm a gentle giant, but I will defend myself and my family if I have to.
Absolutely. 100%. I wouldn't want to mess with you. I'm going to read your bio real quick, but folks, I'm just jazzed to have you on the show today. Because we've known each other for a while, and I've tried to get you on. So
before you read it, I just want to tell everybody that is all of your little listeners and everybody that Brad was one of my earliest supporters, and I think I texted you a couple of years ago saying thank you, because I was really I was working as a barista and I was really sad. Because I had just gotten out of my master's program and I just wanted to be acting, and you were like, listen, man, like it'll be okay. Like if you really want to make this happen, you just got to go out there and work hard and make it happen for yourself. And I really listened to that. So, and I still really appreciate that because you were one of the positive people that were really amped about hearing what I was up to. So it was great.
That touches my heart. Thank you that you remember that, because every once in a while you'll meet somebody who has that je ne sais quoi, that certain something, and you had it, man. You had it. You. It's like when they said, I guess I forget the star when he was bagging groceries. I think it was Cary Grant or somebody. He was in a scene where he was bagging groceries. He didn't have. I think he had an under 5 role. And somebody said, that's a movie star. And they're like, what do you mean? He's bagging groceries. Like, but look how he's doing it. And you were like that. You had this something about you that I can see why you're successful at this. Because not many people, they struggle for years. You started getting acting work pretty pretty quickly, you know.
Pretty quickly and pretty consistently. And I also diversified as much as I could, as quickly as I could. It's mainly because I'm a huge entertainment industry nerd, so I just wanted to learn and do as much as I could inside of the industry. So I ended up doing tons of stuff. I mean, you can read the bio now because that's part of your show.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Born and raised on Long Island, New York, Joshua Schubart has been working as a professional actor for over a decade. Joshua had a tough childhood, growing up homeless and in the foster care system. At 14, his foster parents put him in Catholic school, and his life took a turn for the better. He discovered acting in his early teens as an escape from his day-to-day challenges. He would often say that acting literally saved his life, giving him the drive and motivation to make his dreams come true. Joshua attended the Oslo Conservatory for actor training and got a BA in acting from Stony Brook University. Upon graduation, he fully immersed himself in the craft, building a reputation as a hardworking and talented actor. I remember some of those auditions you would go on. You would cut out at Barnes & Noble early, and then you'd come back and go, I got it. You know, I was really excited for you, man. Joshua has been seen in projects ranging from small indie films to walking the boards at the Metropolitan Opera. Some of his recent work includes a recurring role in the Amazon series The Tick and appearances in 7 Seconds on Netflix and High Maintenance on HBO. His voice can also be heard on a long list of audiobooks available on Amazon Audible, including Blue Summer, Lorelei, and Blaze of Ecstasy. In addition to acting, Joshua is a highly skilled stuntman, stage combatant, with training in hand-to-hand, almost every blade weapon, and most guns. Passionate as well about stepping behind the camera, Joshua is the co-founder of the production company Two Ladies and a Giant. Together with his production company, Joshua created, after a series about a widower navigating life and the dating scene after losing his wife. The series, starring Joshua, is a story of life, love, and rebirth, and streams on IFT Network. And this is what I loved. Growing up, reading comic books, which is what I did as well, Joshua hopes to work with Marvel in the near future, and working with Taika Waititi is a dream of his. Also a plus-size model, Joshua hopes his work in front and behind the camera will open doors for larger people in the industry, break the stereotypes, and prove that they are more than just the funny or bad guys. By the way, you were in GQ. We're going to talk about, I forgot about that. We got to talk about this.
Yeah.
He's definitely a millennial because in his free time, Joshua likes to build computers, read, play different sports, and spend time with his wife and daughter. What a cutie pie, by the way. To learn more about Joshua, follow him on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Josh Schubart. And we'll put all those in the show notes for everybody.
I mean, I guess it's X now, right? Because it changed the name.
Yeah. Whatever that means.
Whatever that is.
I would love to see you work with Waititi, especially on The Mandalorian. I think you'd be.
Oh man, I would love to work with him. Like his like comedic aesthetic and everything. Like I've been in love with him since I saw his what we do in the shadows short film, like in like the early thousands, which like obviously spawned the FX show, but it was just so good. It was such a great short.
Well, you know what's interesting about your profession now? We have the ability to do incredible special effects on a very low level budget. You know, the software that's out there now, the production values, they've all raised and come up higher while the price has come down. The camera that you buy today for $3,000 used to cost $250,000.
Right.
So now you're doing all this production and things like this. And I love the work you are doing. I mean, I've seen some of your side projects as well, like the Transformation of Ben Grimm.
Yeah, so that is my guerrilla audition for the MCU and the Fantastic Four. Like you read in my bio, one of my like life goals is to work for the MCU and to be in that universe. And I really connect with the character of the Thing I love that character. I love his arc, his trajectory, his New Yorkness, just like everything about him.
Yeah.
So I made my own short film, and I made it with professionals, and I hired a great special effects team, and it looks awesome, sounds awesome, and I'm really happy with it.
We're going to play a clip from that, ladies and gentlemen. This is Josh's masterwork right now to get him on MCU. The Transformation of Ben Grimm. Roll the tape.
Come on, let's get you to the lab. I feel. Come on. Less talking, more walking, big guy.
I should have never let you. Don't convince me to go up there.
We don't know that.
What?
Don't worry about it.
What is?
Come on. Come on. I'm gonna go get the scanner.
Reed. What happened to my voice? Reed! What's happening to me? It's clobbering time.
I'm excited by this, but it boils down to not only the actor's performance, but your costume and the special effects is just a lot of fun. I would imagine.
It was. I mean, it was my first rodeo with body prosthetics. I was in a pilot with Gilbert Gottfried that never went anywhere, where I played a giant anthropomorphic manatee. So I was used to working in that type of
Right.
makeup, and it's not easy. You like have to keep the performance real, but you also have to over articulate your eyes and face movements so that it comes through. But so we've never seen this character transform on screen, I feel, properly. To me, it's like a horror movie vibe feel, and that's how we shot it. It's the transformation into a monster, because the character, one of the main arcs of Ben is he has to come to terms with the fact that he is now this new version of himself, and he has to accept that fully. But in the beginning of it, it's this horrible, painful, disturbing transformation, and we've never seen it, and it's a big part of his journey. So I just wanted to show it, and also it's cool for people to actually like see it happen. Like, it's a fun thing to show. Yeah.
Well, that particular character from the Fantastic Four, he's the only one that has this transformation that literally leaves him non-human.
Yeah, he becomes a rock monster.
Yeah, and so all his parts, he can't even pick up a cup properly. He can't eat properly. He can't do any of these things properly. So I take my I take my hat off to you for doing this, but also I wish you best of luck, man, because right now with the Marvel universe, it's just incredible to watch how they have built these comic books that I loved as a kid. You know, anybody who's a baby boomer, we remember the golden age of comic books. You know,
Oh, sure.
Spider-Man came out and Iron Man came out the year I was born, you know, in
Oh, wow.
60, 63. So you're sitting there and I'm like, I've for years, Josh, this is crazy. I was just waiting for them to do it right each time, and they never could get it because the special effects could never catch up. And you're going to laugh at this. My best friend is Dieter Hauer. I'm giving a shout out to him. On Friday nights, we would rush to Burger King or the Red Barn, and then we'd walk back to the house. We'd go upstairs, and this is in the summertime, and we'd glue ourselves on a Friday night at 8 o'clock to watch The Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
And here's the funniest part about this. My friend Dieter, he doesn't read comic books. He doesn't like science fiction. He doesn't like any of this stuff. He's very, I'm going to read this biography. You know, he's very planted in the real world, as we say.
Yeah,
but
sure.
this show he loved. To this day, he watches reruns. He calls me up about it. I do Bill Bixby impersonations. You know, and it's just, it captures the heart and the mind for boomers to now see, like, when Iron Man came out in 2008, part of the reason it was so successful is boomers like me were dragging our whole families to see this. It's like, finally. And I would love to see you in the MCU. I think it would be great.
I can't wait to be there. I mean, that's the way that I look at things, and I guess that's like part of the reason that I've been successful too, is that it's not like a dream that I wish I had. It's an actionable event that I work towards.
Yeah.
So like, even if I don't end up playing this specific character, I'll be something. You know, like, yeah.
Well, you've opened the doors, and hopefully the people, the executives and the directors and everybody will see your thirst, your hunger for this in this mini movie that you did. And it's happened before. I mean, that's how Vin Diesel got started. Vin Diesel made an indie film. I don't even think it was 10 minutes long, and they showed it, and that his star just took off from that point on. So it's possible, man. And a lot of other people have done it too. So it's going to be exciting.
If you don't wait around and you take action and you bet on yourself, you have more of a probability to win.
Yeah.
Versus doing nothing at all.
Well, you're one of the people that I use as an example, believe it or not, of this taking action kind of thing, because and let's talk about this. This ties into the, you know, everybody's talking about The Secret and the law of attraction and all this other stuff. And you can't just sit and pray and hope it comes to you. You got to take action. So let's talk about that, because you visualized where you wanted to go and you just started doing it.
I did. I mean, it's like I don't know. I call it hyperfixation on stuff. But a lot of it comes from I did 8 years of cognitive behavioral therapy. And when I was younger, when I first got into foster care, and that teaches you how to take small incremental steps forward with your mental health and like how to reach specific goals. And it's applicable to literally every aspect of your life. I remember I forget who wrote it. Maybe you know, because you're more in the space, but I read an entrepreneurial book about doing this exact thing, about like making your mundane actions basically autonomic, so that you just do them automatically without, and they become less and less hard and less mundane, because they become like breathing or blinking or whatever. So that you can kind of like jump right to the harder stuff. So that's what I kind of learned how to do. Any new thing that I wanted to add to my toolkit, I would do that. I would work slowly and meticulously through the beginning harder parts until I could like when I was at almost mastery, or like could get to the point where it would be mastery, like the 10,000 hours concept, um, and then I would bring it to the public space and let people see what I was working on.
Yeah. There's a lot of discipline in acting. People don't realize that. I've always admired the people that I have friends who work in a lot of different shows, like Person of Interest or CSI, and their ability to memorize is way off the charts.
Oh, yeah.
And then bring it into a performance.
It's a craft. It's a craft just like a plumber or a mechanic.
Yeah.
It's a craft job. So you learn how to do it and you get better and better at it. And there is some magic, as they say, but there are plenty of perfectly good proficient actors that don't have the extra magic, but they work all the time.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? I want to get back to some of what you were saying. You take action and you do, let's say, a morning discipline. Let's say you have 5 steps each morning. Eventually this becomes a habit, which becomes what they call unconscious competence. Mm-hmm. And so you don't even think about it. So that becomes your base, your foundation to move forward for everything else. And I think it was Brian Tracy who wrote about this, but he said, eat the frog first, which means take your worst task, the worst thing you have to do, the hardest thing, and do it first in the morning. Mm-hmm. You just tackle it. You just go after it. Otherwise, you're going to keep putting it out at arm's length till the end of the day, and then you're not going to put your whole heart into it. And a lot of times, I think we make a bigger deal out of some of these things than they actually are.
Yeah, and that's what I've learned too, is that like if you just do it, it's less bad.
That's a slogan we got to put on a t-shirt. If you just do it, it's less bad.
I mean, just because everybody wants stuff, right? And no one knows how to go get the stuff that they want. And I'm not claiming that I know how to do it. I know how to do it my way, right? Everybody's way is totally different. But I just know, like, it was just for me in the beginning, and that was a motivator. Now I'm married and I have a 2-year-old girl. So that didn't make me slow down. It made me go harder, which was interesting, because I thought I was going to be like, I'll take some steps back. And I actually had to actively calm myself down so that I could be a better father and I could be a better husband. Because I started a whole nother business off of the Transformation of Ben Grimm by accident. So now I'm making my own podcast. I'm collaborating with artists to make merch, and then the merch goes into my project. So I'm selling all types of merch, and I'm doing live streams, and I have a membership now with people on a Discord server that pay me monthly to interact with them. And it happened by accident, because I was just promoting the fact that I was making the Transformation of Ben Grimm, and then people that had watched me on the Tick were messaging me saying, hey, will you crowdfund this so that we can get rewards for helping you make it? And I was like, you want to give me money to make my audition for the MCU? And they're like, yeah, fuck yeah, we do. Oh, can I curse on the show?
Yeah, we were okay with swearing.
Okay. So then I was like, okay. And I just kind of asked them, what do you want to see? Do you want to see a Kickstarter? Do you want to see a Patreon? What do you want to see? And they were like, both. It's like, all right. So I just started and I researched and I looked at other people's pods and other people's memberships, and it's not perfect yet, but it's there, and it's fun.
It is. I've been blown away by the talent that I've seen rise up accidentally, or they just went for it. I don't know if you know who Matt Bush is, but we had him on the show, and he's an official Star Wars artist. And I was just blown away. He's doing his own movie now called Aladdin 3477, sci-fi, and the special effects are incredible. I don't know if you know him. I'll introduce you if you need to.
I don't, but I'd love to meet him.
Yeah, and he does this kind of stuff too. He's the only outsider, not really an outsider, but an artist who's had a stormtrooper named after him. One of those 12-inch stormtroopers.
Yeah, that's
They have the
cool.
Matt Bush version of that. So
That's fantastic.
I do want to go back to the Tick because I think it I'm not saying it launched your career, but it's one of the big stepping stones for you. I'm very disappointed they're not going to do another season, or they have left it kind of up in the air. And it's such a great IP. It's I love it. I mean, I have so much fun
Me
watching it.
too,
But
and we all did, and we still talk about it all the time. It was abruptly canceled. We got canceled a week after we wrapped, or like 2 weeks after we wrapped, and it's because it was around the time where the Me Too movement was really powerful, and the head of half hour comedy over at Amazon had to resign because of things that he had done, which he should have not been there because he was awful. But the new head, she canceled everything that he made except for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel because it had already won a bunch of Emmy Awards. And then they tried to get it picked up elsewhere, and a lot of other places wanted it. But because of how streaming works, Amazon wouldn't let go of the first 2 seasons. So none of the other places wanted to have the first 2 on Amazon, and then they do 3, and then they continue on. So the show just kind of died there because of the contracts as they exist now, and why we're partially on strike is because of things like this.
Got it. Well, take me through the audition. How did you get the role?
Oh, okay. So I didn't know that I was auditioning for it because it was called The Tick. Like, it came in, and I forget what it was called, but it wasn't called The Tick. And so I went in and I prepared, and I was like, oh, it's just like a hench guy. It's for like a thing, whatever. I don't know what this is. And I walked in the room, and the casting director told me, she was like, all right, Josh, this isn't normally what I normally call you in for. This is actually a show called the Tick. And I was like, oh, like the superhero? And she was like, yeah, like the blue guy, the blue guy with the antenna. And I was like, I know that very well. And I came in.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. And she was like, all right, so you kind of have an idea for the world. I was like, yeah, I do. So I did my first take, and I did this really extreme characterization, like a high-pitched voice, like New York, like crazy Tick accent from like the cartoon age and stuff. And she was like, okay, we'll send that one, but that's not really what they're looking for anymore. It's not the cartoon. They want it to be more real and more grounded, but still funny. Do you think you can mix those together? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. So I did take 2, nailed it, left, got in the elevator. The elevator doors closed. I started weeping in the elevator because I was very proud of myself, because I was in the room and I got hit with a thing that was really important to me, and I was able to still do the work and be flexible and malleable and give a good audition without having it overwhelm me, and then overwhelm me later when I was in the elevator. And when the doors opened at the bottom, like, I was like a mess, and the people that were there waiting were like, what's going on? And I was like, I'm fine, I'm good. And then you don't hear for a while. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
You either hear or you don't. And I was literally waiting in a coffee shop to go to another audition like a week later, when I got the call from my manager that I was pinned, and then 3 days later I was booked.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
They say, what happens when you get your dream? What happens when everything you've hoped and wished for falls on your lap? What happens? And you're getting off the elevator. It's like, big guy crying.
Yeah. Why are you crying, big guy?
Hey, fella, you okay? You didn't get it, did you?
It was like the classic moment where like people say, like, when it shows up, are you going to be ready for it, type of thing.
Yeah.
And it was cool because I didn't let it like fuck with me, and I just did the work that I knew that I was capable of, and then I ended up on the show, and here we are now talking on a podcast.
It reminds me of I went to see the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in 1973. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was old enough to walk to the theater with a $1.50.
Wilder is so good.
Well, to this day, when Charlie opens that ticket, I am leaning forward. I'm still on the edge of my seat. I'm that 10-year-old boy who saw it in the theater, and I'm like, is he going to get it? Is that, you're still enchanted in that. And I feel the same way from your story. Like, I hear the music, that Charlie bucket, that the strings waiting, and he opens it, and I'm like, I got the golden ticket. I'm going to be on the tick.
That was cool.
Yeah.
And then I got another really great opportunity in High Maintenance that I shot in the middle of shooting Tick season 1, which was another amazing experience on that show. So it was great.
Yeah. What was it like working with Michael Cerveris?
So Michael is an incredibly giving, wonderful artist, and just a really cool, chill guy. Everybody that was on set with me, I have watched on Broadway or on TV shows, and I was fans of, like, huge fans of. Yeah. And I had to pretend that I didn't know who they were until the rap party. And then at the rap party, I was like the nerdiest bitch in the world. And I like ran up to people and I was like, I've been watching you for, oh
my God.
Yeah. But Michael was extra hard because I worked with him constantly until his character got killed, unfortunately. And his last day on set, like, I was like, can we go out and get some like, let's go get some beers and we'll get some food. And I just told him how much his career has influenced my own. And he's Mr. Broadway. He's won so many Tonys. He's been in so many. He was in the original production of Tommy, Assassins. He was in Fun Home, like all these things. Yeah. Sweeney Todd, like all this stuff that I've watched, since I was in high school, when I was in undergrad and in my master's program, and to be able to work with a guy like that who is also just like super normal. Yeah. It was great.
I got introduced to him while watching Fringe. I'm like, who is this guy? Everybody's talking about him. And so I looked it up and I went, whoa, this is a heavy hitter. I mean, this is kind of like working with De Niro. I mean, it's like, what? And cool. Here you're on the tick.
What's really interesting about Fringe is that his character, Mr. Sunday, started the way mine did on the Tick. He was only supposed to be in two episodes and then die.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and we had a whole conversation about that. It was cool.
Isn't that funny how it works? I'll tell you what we really laughed about. My girlfriend Tao, we were sitting there laughing the way Peter Serafinowicz, the way he plays the Tick. It's first of all, it's making fun of the whole original Superman genre. You need to be, don't fight it, Arthur. You know, his lines, and he says them. I've seen his work before, and I was cracking up because he usually plays a heavy, a serious guy, a killer, or whatever. And him playing this was hilarious. Watching him interact, and I was every line. I mean, I'm laughing, but your performance also was incredible because you did. I don't know if this line was ad-libbed. I don't even remember the line, but you said something so smart-assed on the show. I fell off the chair because I know you, first of all, and I'm thinking, I wonder if he ad-libbed that. And I'm sorry, I can't give you the details, but it was just like, it was just your performance every time you were on camera really makes me realize why they kept asking you back. You like I said, you have that je ne sais quoi.
Thank you. I mean, we were very hooked in with the writers and with Ben. So we would talk heavily about the script, and if things came up on set, they were happy to hear them. So there were things that I tried to bring in that got cut, and there were other things that I brought in that got kept. But with Peter and Ben, they would because of how specifically smart stupid the tick is, they would get into it, like, not in a bad way, but they would be waxing poetic about, like, which version of this word will sound better in this sentence to get the point across, but would it be quirkier if it was this word instead of this word? And it was interesting watching them rewrite certain things on the fly to make it not make it more weird, but make it more of like an earwormy type of line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done that in, I coach people for TED Talks, and it's true, especially with my background in comedy and things like this. If you get the right word, it's funnier. You know, they used to always say, well, words that start with a K are funnier, but I remember this woman who was Black, who did a TED Talk, and they asked me to coach her, and she was hilarious because she went and got her mom and her got their DNA done. And it turns out they're from England. They're English. They're DNA says they're this amount of British, but they're Black, and I was rolling. I said, don't say English, say, turns out we're British. Well, the British line got a bigger laugh because we tested it, and the house went crazy. And it boils down to that. Sometimes it's a better line, and especially for a character like the Tick, who's waxing like it's a soliloquy in Shakespeare.
Yep.
So I found that hilarious. So what are you working on now? I know you did an indie film. What is it called? Afterwards, or what's it called?
It's called After.
After.
So it's an indie series, and that's out on IFT Network. It was one of the first TV shows that I ever made. That I wrote the whole thing with two cool partners, Olivia Baptista and Tegan Kuritz. Olivia and I still work together all the time. She's out in LA, and I'm here in New York, and we send each other scripts, and we're trying to. But basically, this idea for After came to me when I was getting married, which was really weird. I had just said I do, and I was walking away from the tree, because we didn't get married in a church. We got married under a tree. Mm-hmm. And I just had this thought, like, oh man, like what would I do now if you died? And it was just this really real, like, brief, like, fuck, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I love you so much. That just it was like a curse in my head, and I guess I had to, like, write it down. So I wrote, like, what would happen to a person in their like late 20s or early 30s who lost their wife and then had to, like, start over again. So it's about a guy that moves home and, like, reconnects with all of his people again, and hooks up with his best friend again, and he goes back into the dating scene, and it's a dramedy. So it's funny and sad, and we talk about a lot of stuff that scares people, like self-harm and things of that nature. But people that watch it really like it. So
I think you're on your way to something really big, my friend, because you're a triple threat. Okay. I always said this, and for those of you who don't know, ladies and gentlemen, Hollywood thrives on stereotypes in the casting sheets. I hate to say it. Big guy, Latino playing a drug dealer. That if you looked at this stuff, you'd be like, what the hell? Are we really getting any further ahead in life? But one of the things, how tall are you, by the way?
6'2".
Okay. So you're not only tall, you're husky, big guy, but you're also good looking. And that is really a triple threat, when it comes into the acting world, because most guys are one or the other. They're either good looking or they're big. There is no combo there. You bring that thunder. You're a writer. You're a stunt guy. All the hand-to-hand combat for stage and screen. You also do production. So you understand the process. And I love when you talked about this, this thought, you couldn't get rid of it. You had to write it down.
Yeah.
And this makes you a triple threat, my friend.
Oh, thanks. Well,
I mean, seriously, you were in GQ magazine, for God's sake. We got to show that spread. How did that come about?
So my manager said that GQ is trying to, so plus size models, like men with beards that are like brawny, like me. There's this new brand of model called a Brawny Model, which now you see everywhere. It's a large guy with a beard. They're in Target wearing like a flannel shirt or whatever. But this was in like, I think it was like 2014 or so. And it was the first time that they were really like, we're going to do it. We're going to show normal looking people that live in the world, because most people look like us, man. Like they're like me and you, Brad. Like they don't look like,
I'm not Andy Garcia.
Like we're most of America looks the way that we do. And I mean, we're fit and shit, but like, we're not like emaciated and,
when I enter a room, I'm not like Brad Pitt where everyone turns and there's a yellow golden glow around him, and everybody goes, oh, it doesn't work that way for the rest of us. Right.
But so I went to their casting, and it was like, how do you put a large guy in a suit? And I actually learned a lot, because I couldn't wear suits for a long time because I didn't understand how they fit my body. And I still have this problem to this day with professional costumers who don't know how to put clothes on my body. So I had to learn how to do it myself, so I could tell them what to do when it came time to put on a costume. So I went to their casting, and we took pictures or whatever. And I've had success in print because I always treated pictures, like taking pictures, as an acting performance. So people get really into the fact that I bring so much emotion forward on my face that they really love it. And I guess conventional model, they manipulate their bodies to look a certain way. Whereas when I am doing it, I don't care if like I look a little weird or like I'm looking quote unquote fat or whatever. I just go, and they like that.
It was a fantastic shoot. I was really impressed. And as a graphic designer, I know just enough about, colors, suits, they should be cut. And I understand your frustration, because modern tailors are just horrible. They squeeze and cinch the suit tight.
Yeah.
And they give you thin lapels. Well, if you're broad shouldered, you have to have a wider lapel. And you have to make sure that you aren't wearing a suit that has too much padding in the shoulders, because you already got shoulders. Right. You got broad shoulders. So they really, sometimes you have to, like you said, you have to tell them how to cut your suit.
It's true. And they also liked my story, and they liked that I knew how to sword fight. So in the shoot, they asked me too late. Like they're like, hey, can you get a broadsword for the shoot? And I was like, I could have gotten a broadsword if you didn't ask me the day before the shoot. Right. So they went out and they bought like a prop toy sword that was like this long or whatever. Yeah. And if you go back and you look at the pictures in the corner of the shoot, it's on the floor, because they're like, that looks stupid in your hands. I was like, of course it does. It's a like a 2 foot long plastic play sword for kid, I
Well, in case you don't know, folks, New York City has prop shops. You can go buy stuff. So they just didn't give you enough time to get
yeah,
a broadsword that was at least 3.5 feet long, 4 feet long. Because that thing looked like a dagger in your hands.
yeah, it was yeah.
Look at the tiny little dagger.
Tiny little
He has a
baby.
beautiful suit, and it is ruined with the tiny dagger.
Could use it to cut my cheese with, but I'm not gonna fight a dragon with that thing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love how that came out because it was well done. Let's put it that way. And they didn't make it cheesy, and they didn't make it like, hey, look, we're dressing regular people.
Yeah.
You looked very, for lack of a better word, debonair. How's that?
Yeah, and now that's how I buy and get all my suits cut, is the way that they told me. It was cool. The head of their men's styling division, whatever it's called there, he really liked me a lot, and he spent extra time answering all of my questions because I had a lot of questions. Yeah.
It was, well, I might not be as big as you, but I have some of the similar problems. When you have when I go to buy a shirt off the rack, I have a 17-inch neck, okay, between 16 and 17 and a half. But I have 32, 33 arms, so I have short arms. Well, because of the neck size and the arm size, they assume I'm portly. So I get all this fabric on either side.
Yeah.
And so I have to take it to a tailor to get it done. And then I have short legs on top of it. So I have a normal size torso of a certain suit size, and then the pants have to be a different size. So it's very frustrating because they don't have any of the old haberdasheries that they used to have in New York City anymore. Those are gone. I used to go to Wallach's to get fitted for my my suits.
Oh wow,
that takes you back. That's an old one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple left, but they're extremely expensive now, to the point where because that's the thing. It's because people don't wear suits anymore. That if you want to, you have to go spend $3,000 or whatever to get to buy it and then have it custom fit to your body. I mean, what I usually do, because it's cheaper and just as good, is I'll go buy my size, which is 56 or something, or 58, depending on the manufacturer, and then I'll go to the dry cleaner and have them do it. And they usually have a really talented person in there that knows what they're doing, and they just gotta take it in a V shape.
Yeah.
and then it fits.
And don't cinch it. I hate when they
don't cinch it. Well, because my arms are 20 inches and my calves are 2, because I work out for functional strength. I'm not a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
So I'm in proportion, but I'm big.
Yeah. You kind of have Arnold Schwarzenegger's size.
Yeah.
Because he had 21-inch biceps or whatever and thick legs. So you're really getting cut like a bodybuilder, because you have the power lifter legs and size. So that's good. So let's talk about the strike. What's it really about? That's what I think a lot of people are curious about. What is the strike really about? Because I hear two things, but I'm going to have you explain it.
Yeah, so the strike is really about it's about a lot of stuff, but the three key things that people are hearing about is a pay increase to match inflation, because we just had a bunch of crazy inflation. The streaming services pay and residual format, which is absolute trash, and the use of AI. So I'll go with the first one, which is to increase for inflation. The union asked for an 11% increase for the first year to match what the current inflation level is, based from the agreed on pay scale from the 2020 contract, and then it would scale down drastically from 11 to 5 to 4%, to like match normal inflation levels when they're not going out of control.
Right.
And the AMT the AMPTP just said no to that. They're like, no, you can have 543, which would mean we'd be getting paid less than our old contract because of inflation, which is crazy. And then the streaming services are on these old new media contracts that they all love, because you pay all of your artists 30% less than the national networks, and your residual package is very bad. And because now all the major networks own their own streaming services, the days of syndication are over. So it used to be that, like if it was a really popular show, like say Friends, then once it did its run on wherever it was, let's just say that it was ABC, then it would get picked up on, say, CBS for an X amount of time, and then all the artists on the show would get paid again. They would earn residuals again and all that stuff.
Right.
With the streaming services, that's not part of their contract. So they do a optioning deal with the network. So the network gets paid a flat rate, and then they make money, and then the artists on the show don't see a dollar, even if it's watched like 100 billion million times, like with shows like The Office and things of that nature. Yeah. So the contracts are built for things that don't exist now. There's a new business model that, like, Netflix trades at $500 a share. That is not a new upstart unprofitable company that needs to be on a lower indie type of internet contract, right? Like right. They need to
I would agree.
Get up to the professional level and pay the artists that are allowing them to trade at $500 a share. And we're not even asking for, we're asking for like less than 2% of their profit margin, and they make so much money, billions and billions of dollars, and we're asking for like a tiny crumb, please, so that we can make our health insurance every year. Because that's a huge issue now, is that 84 or like 86 of our percent of our membership can't qualify for health insurance anymore, and it only costs $26,000 to qualify for the union health insurance.
Right.
And that is crazy to me, and it's because of the new model with the streamers, where you would used to get a TV show, it was like 22 to 24 episodes long, and that's how it was. You would work for eight months at a time, and then you would make all the money that you needed to. You would qualify for your health and pension. Now there's 10 episode seasons. It's a truncated writer's room, and it's a truncated shoot time, where you shoot for 3 months, and then you get paid 30% less than you do. You don't get residuals, which add towards your health and pension. So this is why we're on strike.
And here's another thing people don't realize. Sometimes you're filming for weeks and your counterpart in a scene isn't on site with you at all. You're on a green screen.
Right.
So they're saving even more money because they don't have to build sets.
Correct.
And I've always been astounded, like when the CEO of Disney gets a $60 million bonus at the end of the year. And I'm like, well, I know he's busy, but he didn't have his hands in these projects. I understand the executive producers work their tail off as well, sure. But to give people an understanding of what this is like, think of it this way, and this is one of my favorite stories. William Shatner, when he had done the original Star Trek series, when that was over, they didn't get royalties or residual checks at all. And Star Trek was one of the very first TV shows that went into syndication and made more money in syndication than it did, when it was being live broadcast. And Shatner saw none of that money. He was living in a camper pickup truck in the middle of New York City, washing himself down at a fire hydrant in the mornings. And he talks about this, he was basically homeless. Imagine being on such a wildly popular television show, and after they gave you your paycheck, they're done with you, and they make all this money off of your image, your acting, your abilities. And this is what actors have to go through, and not just actors, but the people within the industry, to fight for a pay raise, to look at and stay on constant threat levels to new technology that really undermines their ability to make money from their image and their acting and all these other things and what they're actually doing. So I take my hat off to you guys. I know it's a hard road, and some people don't understand it, but I look at it this way. It looks like Disney Plus has all of the top shows. They yanked them from Netflix, right. And Netflix. One of the guys from The Office, he was on the picket line. He actually said, imagine Netflix negotiates a deal where they get The Office on there. And he goes, I get paid for 3 months of that. And they get 5 years of pure profit of just people watching this over and over again.
Over and over again, yeah.
Yeah. And this is what people are negotiating for. It's like, hey, we want a piece of the action, and we now have a new platform. And let's talk about this because Disney right now has had like 6 failures in a row. And, we could say it's all woke stuff, and all this, but the reality is the model is changing. The model to go to the movie theater has shifted now. And you said, well, we're in the green room. You became a voiceover actor because of COVID.
Right.
We're all adjusting to this new world. So let's talk a little bit about that, Josh.
I mean, Marvel not doing well with their past couple of projects, and I do agree with that. And I don't think it has to do with people saying "quote unquote" woke stuff. Mm-hmm. People get up writers' asses about stuff like that, but TV shows and movies are largely made, especially large tentpole things like those, are usually made before they're made via like a focus group. Like what do people want to see? What demographics need to be represented more? Stuff like that, like all normal shit that has always happened forever. Right. Basically, like where's the money coming from? And that's how it's gonna be forever. So people that don't like the way certain things are written, it's like it's not being written for you, and that's okay. It's being written for some other people, and they're enjoying it. And there are plenty of things for you and me and everybody else.
Yeah.
It's like really it seems like it's all been rushed and truncated, and whereas I haven't seen the last comic book movie that I saw was Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Mm-hmm. And I've seen comic movies after, and I've seen them before in this phase. I feel, and I've spoken about this publicly before, that the first 10 years, because they built it out slowly, they took their time, and they built to the Infinity Saga, and they really spent the time to really like get the people into the world, into these characters and all that stuff. You got the payoff that you wanted. You got people, me included, crying in the movie theater when I saw Endgame, and like Captain America picking up the hammer and like all that stuff, like screaming, going fucking crazy, like having this collective human experience that I haven't had in a movie theater in years and years, and then phase 4 comes out, and we're just blasting characters out into your face in a way that the comic books don't even do. Like, right. America Chavez is one of the most important characters in the Young Avengers. She's the leader of the Young Avengers, and we get introduced to her in Multiverse of Madness, which is a movie that is half Sam Raimi, half Marvel, half like, and then also like it's like noted to hell, so you can see where like Sam had to make compromises and he can't tell his story, and Marvel's trying to tell their story, and they're also they're retconning their own story because they wrote something else in a TV show, and because everything is so bubbled and so fucking secretive that no one can talk to the other show or the other movie to get shit straight the way that they used to.
Yeah.
To me, that's where the issues are. It's that. It's time. We need the same time and care that you put into the first 10 years.
Yeah.
That you'll move forward with. And I think they're understanding that, which is why they're pulling projects and they're trying to slow it down. But yeah, so that's my two cents on that.
It's true. I think you hit the nail on the head because, all they care about at the top is, can we make money? Let's put out a new product. Let's do this. Come on. And they kind of ignore the fan base. I really get upset, with how they treated Star Trek for many years. I'm a big Trekker fan, if you haven't guessed.
Me too. Yeah.
And I like Star Wars, don't get me wrong, but Star Trek to me is based on what would happen if the human race actually evolved, as a group. And so it's kind of based in reality a little bit. But I would watch how Paramount would treat that property as if it was dog poop, because they literally didn't get the fan base. Well, they don't even know why they like Star Trek. And for many years, Paramount would have had to file bankruptcy except for Star Trek. And I know that because I had friends who worked at Paramount. But I agree with you. I think Marvel, Disney, whoever's behind all this, they keep rushing things into production. And I have to be honest with you, fans get tired. And I remember when I went to see Solo, they think it bombed in the theater, but the reality is we had so many Star Wars sagas to choose from in that 3-month period. It was almost like, well, I'm tired, and it's not like in the 80s where I would literally see a movie every single weekend, every month, and then maybe take a break for 2 or 3 weeks. And then the summer, all these blockbusters would come out on the same weekend. And outside the theaters, it would be packed. 40, 50 people out in the street just waiting to get online to see whatever movie. And they'd release 3 at a time on a Friday or Thursday. And they had to stop doing that because they started to realize people don't have the money that they used to, that extra capital to just go, I'm just going to go see a couple of movies this weekend. And so now we are entering into another phase where the business has changed again. And I really want to see you on The Mandalorian. I have to be honest with you.
I'd love to be on The Mandalorian.
Get you in some armor, baby. Get you in some battle.
I mean, in my opinion about that particular movie, Solo, that didn't work because it wasn't a movie about Han Solo. Because of the reshoots and because for whatever reason they didn't end up liking him as the character, so they rewrote and they reshot and they made it an ensemble movie. Like I watched it a couple of times, and the character of Han Solo has normally there's like if you're the lead of a big movie, like 3/4 of the scenes of the film are supposed to be you in the middle of frame, emoting or doing whatever it is that you're doing. And he had like 2 or 3, and there were other characters that had more intense moments than Han Solo did, constantly and consistently throughout the film. So to me, that's why the film failed, because they were trying to fix it because they thought it was bad.
I can see that now. Now that you explained it, I can see, the female robot lead, and then the woman who betrayed him, and then Lando. They had to introduce all these new characters, and so I see that now. Yeah, that was interesting that you broke it down. But you're in the industry
that you were just talking about, where the production companies stopped doing the multiple movie weekends. Maybe it was because of money, but also because they wanted to harvest as much money out of one movie as possible. And it became this thing where they wouldn't release anything together. Like with the whole Barbieheimer thing that's been happening now.
Yeah.
So I saw both in the same week, and I haven't seen a movie right after another movie in the same week since they did this money harvest crap. But they're both incredible for their own reasons, and I'm not even supposed to be talking about this because I'm on strike. But it's because it works because they're both good quality films, and they're being released at the same time, and they're not taking away from the other.
Yeah.
And that's what we've lost. Like as boards are banks and they're not artists or people that have been working in the industry before, as you take the humanity out of the arts, this is the bullshit that starts happening.
Yeah.
Like back in the golden age, I'm sorry, I'm just like ranting, but like back in the golden age, the heads of the studios came from the floor. They worked in the field, they worked behind the cameras. They understood what it took to make a product. Now, and I'm what am I, like 37? But like I feel like an old guy. It's like these newer people don't know what the fuck it takes to get their hands in the fucking mud and make a film or make a TV show.
I agree with you. You know, a lot of people come out, you know, with an MBA in business, and they've never owned a company or they've never been on the front lines. That's why I like when Jack Welch put together his series where you had to go and get a black belt. I forget what it was called, but he basically made everybody spend a week in the lowest roles within the company so that they could learn what people went through.
Mm.
And I love that. And today we don't have that. I really do believe there's a disconnect from the executive suite to the people doing the production. And the best story I know of, you know, to compare that to is when Disney's animation studios were putting out one flop after another and couldn't figure out what the hell was going on, while Pixar and DreamWorks were taking off. They eventually basically bought Pixar because they had to learn that the media had changed. And John Lasseter, head of Pixar, he had a stipulation in the contract that says we will be teaching Disney, not the other way around, how to do our version of animation, because they have their own university. Yeah. You go to Pixar's university to learn animation. And that was just smart because, you know, you can't sit there and say, well, we're Disney, you know, that's ego driven. It's not driven. You were great in the past, but we moved on from 2D animation into a whole new world now. And, you know, movies like Toy Story and Shrek, if you ever take a class in cinema history, these two movies are landmark movies because the technology caught up and really not only made the first full feature animation film, but it was also 3D. Shrek had figured out how to do hair. Instead of it being a cap on the character's head, it now flowed. Lighting, the computer took lighting seriously and set building. And, you know, it's just incredible how your industry is almost forced to take these leaps, not only because of technology, but because of people's habits. I feel like the movie industry is really a barometer for how business keeps shifting, especially in the 21st century.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Which was the third point about why we're on strike that we didn't talk about. I mean, the union isn't against AI. Like, we put together an entire presentation for the negotiations about how it can be used to benefit making film, and they refuse to even hear it. They wouldn't even listen to it. Right. And it's just a new technology that is meant to aid, not replace, right? Like, I got my start really doing TV and film, doing background work. And one of the things that it's the merged HBO and Discovery CEO. What is it, Max now? It's a great name, by the way. Max Max wants to scan a background artist and pay them once and use them in perpetuity forever and never pay them again. But if you do that to a person in the industry, and that's where a lot of us start, you've removed them from the industry forever.
Yeah.
They won't even be able to be anything because they'll be in the background of their own show.
Yeah, they'll create clones and not pay you. You're the original.
And so it's like a compensation package. Like we understand that you're going to feed 100 years of performances into an AI and try to make an AI actor.
Yeah.
But there's nothing we can do about that because that's the way the wheel turns. We're moving forward. But what are you going to do without us?
Yeah. Well, I look at the deep fake footage that comes out, of Schwarzenegger being in The Sound of Music and stuff, and it looks like him. I'm like, wow. Yeah. But folks, if you may not understand the brevity of all this, I always look at the Crispin Glover debacle in Back to the Future too. He didn't get along with the director, and they decided to just not invite him back. They used an actor who was built like him, and because they had made molds from the previous Back to the Future 1, they just put this mask on the new actor and didn't pay Crispin a dime, even though they were using his image. So he sued the studio. And if you watch that movie, I believe that's one where they were in the future, him and Crispin Glover was in this thing to help his back, and he was upside down, so you wouldn't see it's not Crispin Glover. And so using an artist's image for the rest of their life and not paying them for it, it's not right. Let's put it that way.
It's not.
So how do we get a hold of you, my friend, by the way, if we need to reach out, if any of my fans want to talk to you, and I'm going to introduce you to Matt Bush, by the way.
Sure. I mean, I'm very interactive on all of my social medias. On my website, joshuaschubart.com, there's like a contact form. So if you want to reach out to me there, I respond pretty quickly to people that like actually want to interact and like aren't trying to like send me pictures of their penises or anything. So
yeah, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, it's a bad thing. I'm not interested. Anyone's body, I'm not interested in
Thank
that.
Thank you, but no thanks.
Thank you.
All right, weirdo. Thank you for being on Awakened Nation. I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions here in our lightning round,
Sure.
because you're pretty much an open book. But I just wanted to ask you, number 1, what would be the dream actor or actress you'd want to work with?
Oh, so I want to work with Willem Dafoe very badly.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite actors of all time, and his process, how he works through a script, how he works through a character, it would be incredible to work with him. I love his work, and I love him as a person. I've never met him, but I love his worldview and all that stuff.
What's your favorite movie of his
that he's been in? So he was it Nosferatu?
It's my favorite too.
Yeah.
In the Shadow of the Vampire.
Yeah, in the Shadow of the Vampire.
It was so
one
good.
of my favorite performances of any actor is that. He was so good.
Well, he was bouncing off of what's his name? His name just dropped out of my head. Malkovich. John Malkovich. Yeah. Him and John Malkovich were like playing off of he's like, I told you not to kill my cameraman. He's like, and he gets it down so perfectly. And he isn't really sure if he's a vampire or not until the end scene, which is then they're filming and no one's showing up on the mirror as he's walking in front of him. It's just so subtle. I love that one.
And I love like he made like a great quote, like, sometimes building a character is just putting in some teeth, and there's nothing more real than that.
Yeah.
Like you put in you like wear something on your face, or you put in teeth, and it informs your entire character's life. And I just love that's honest about the craft.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love that he's so fucking honest.
That is. Yeah, and he's a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
My second question is, what's it like to be a dad and a husband and all these things and juggle your career? I just see great pictures of you and your wife and your daughter. What's that all like now?
It's great. Being a dad is a thing that I wasn't sure of in the beginning, just because of my upbringing in my life, and I wasn't sure that I'd be good at being a dad. But I love being a dad. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And being able to parent with my wife, and just raise our daughter and have these fun experiences, and letting her grow up in a way that I wasn't able to. That to me is beautiful and wonderful. And it's like I'm giving myself a gift by giving her the life that I should have had.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think you try harder because of your experience in foster, care and all
I
that.
had a lot of good role models too. Like my foster father, who I just call he's my dad. He unfortunately passed in 2021 due to COVID complications. He was incredible. Like, he took me and my two younger sisters in to his home, and he was our dad, and loved us with all of his might. And he's one of my role models in my life. And so
I was raised by my stepfather as well, and I don't know any other father, so he's my dad. And even when my parents got divorced, he was there like the North Star my whole life. I never met my biological father. My mom and dad got married at 6, so I was at the wedding. I'm rooting for this.
That's great.
But I understand.
Fathers are great. They're great because they choose. They choose to do it, and there's something more it's not that it's better or worse, but it's just so powerful when a person they actively choose to do it, and then they love it, and they love you. It's just so cool,
Yeah, it is. I've raised 3 stepkids because of it. I just stepped up to the plate. And you've met Sebastian over at Barnes & Noble, so he's now working in television.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he runs an ESPN affiliate, does sports. That was his dream job. He's the director.
That's great.
He runs the whole
cool
thing.
To hear. That's fantastic.
Yeah, he went off to college to get that degree. So my third and final question: in everything you've achieved, in all the auditions, in all the people you've worked with, everything you've done, what's your favorite memory from all of this?
Oh my God. All right. My favorite memory.
It's hard to narrow it down to one, I know.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about. Okay, so one of my favorite memories was, and I'm gonna try to make this not sound petty and shitty because it's not supposed to.
Right.
But it was my first on location day for the Tick season 1, and it was the first time that there were extras on set. And I hadn't done background work in like 3-4 years at that point, because I had transitioned over to only doing speaking parts. And it was like I was on set, and these people that I had worked with a lot, and we knew each other, and I was in a scene, and they called cut, and a couple of them walked up to me, and they were like, "Josh, you did it. You did it. You did it. You're here. Like, we can't believe it. Like, we're so happy for you." And I was like, I am so happy too. Like, it was like one of those moments where it was like I was so happy to see them, and I was so happy that they got to see me. Does that sound weird? Like I was just so happy that like we could like, I don't know, we could all be in that moment together.
Well, here's a story that I read years ago, and it just touched me because, you know, you took the risk and you went to the next level and you went on the other side. But Ray Bradbury used to tell this. It was a short article that it was written in a magazine where when he first moved to Hollywood, he was a kid and he would deliver newspapers on the corner. And his route was right outside of one of the studios. And he noticed there were people who would stand around the studio all day waiting to get a glimpse of anybody famous, and they would get their autograph. And this is what they did all day. They didn't work. They didn't do anything. They waited and they would get the autograph of, you know, Kirk Douglas or whatever. And years later, when his first movie came out into the theater, he was entering the theater. And he had hung out with these people for years, you know, up until he was a teenager. But he's heading into the theater and somebody recognized him because he was young still. He said, Ray, little Ray. And they're like, yeah. He goes, what are you doing here? You know, he's all dressed up with his wife and everything. He's about to go in. And he goes, oh, this is my movie. And they just looked at him like, wow, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Almost. And then one of them turned around and go, well, we'll get his autograph, you know, and everybody rushed him. And I liken it to that. You had a dream, you had a goal, and you manifest it. And honestly, my friend, I see you doing much bigger stuff after this strike is over. I can see it. I really want to see you in the MCU. I'm just so jazzed you're on today. Thank you, Josh, for being on Awakened Nation today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a long time coming. This is great.
I know. All right. Hey, everybody, tune in next week. We're going to have another great guest. And until then, take care and reach out to Josh, my friends. Just, you know, become a fan. He's really great at his craft. I know, I watch everything he does. So thanks, Josh. Have a good one.
Thanks, Brad.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for being a big part of the Awakened Nation movement. This is how you can help me and our extraordinary guests. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And let's grow this movement by word of mouth. Our success will be because of you. Thank you, and see you next week.